Why, hello there, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages. My name is DB333 and welcome back to Heartsbound for the New Order Last Days of Europe as the Ural Military District. Now, in the last video, we finished up our elections and we've decided that we're not having any more elections, so that's nice. Good and well. So, from here, fun fact, I had to go ahead and redo everything since the start of the election just because I forgot to save. And I started filming the Brazil series a little after I edited this part. And so as a result, I had to kind of get everything back. So I think this is roughly what we did. I might have missed a few things, which if I do, I apologize. But, stuff happens. What are you gonna do? So, let's go ahead and get back to what we're doing. Doing some new research. I forget if we were doing this research already or not. If we did, great. If not, well, we're doing it now. And we'll catch up with whatever we're supposed to be researching later. Moving some guys to the border with the Ural League. I think next we will go ahead and finish the politics tree. I went ahead and, made sure that the front was going to be the Aryan Brotherhood. They're still kind of stalling out, which is a little interesting. Might not have done enough, but that is what it is. I think we'll get working. Might as well get to enlistment and benefits while we're here. Get the rest of these, and then get working to exert influence. And who knows, maybe we'll be able to just absorb both of these. I'm not sure what happens if one of the other states isn't unified here. But the army always needs more men. As our enemies across the border grow their armies, so too must we. In order to increase enlistment hour, we will have to sweeten the deal in order to entice young men to join. The threat of imminent invasion is no longer as easily applicable as a motivator now that our geopolitical situation has stabilized as much as it has. Implementation of a guaranteed pension system for veterans, respect, and the option to be part of the political machine of a district will be some of the benefits a soldier can reap if they enlist in the army. That surely ought to increase enlistment rates. That works. Get some boost to the end of poverty, which is very, very nice because our poverty rate is a little disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. The extra GDP cost will be a little. Ooh. Our message to Italy has been answered, and they will soon they have agreed to our proposal. Trade between our two nations will soon begin. Italy has already recognized our country on the world stage. Our industries are preparing to export oil to Italy now with our company Gazprom partnering with VNI. Hopefully this partnership should break through the problems of trading with distant Italy, seeing problems of how our goods will react reach them on our horizon. But the deal doesn't just come with free trade between us, though. As part of it, we will need to invite ENI into our country to oversee oil extraction. This may give the Italians more power over our oil deposits than we like, but it's worth it. We need as many trade partners as we can get. So we get a bonus to conservative democracy. Interesting. Italian oil expertise on our side. I feel like that's probably more of a Scandinavian sort of deal. Or, not Scandinavian. I'm thinking because I'm sales Scandinavia. More of a Yeltsin-related thing. Because I went and boosted his popularity. Old Man Pyotr. That's what everyone called him. If someone described an old grizzled veteran, they would be describing Pyotr. Serving in the Tsar's army in the Civil War, Pyotr lost his leg in battle, but some say he killed 100 men before he was ever put out of action. He's also the best man to ask what the army was like, which was exactly what Martin was about to do. A young man only 18 years old, you would think Martin would know more about war. Martin wanted to join the fight, but he didn't want to be a regular soldier. He wanted to be a hero, just like Pyotr, killing the Germans and barbarians. The old veteran spent most of his time in his rocking chair, watching people pass by his old farmhouse. As Martin walked up, the veteran opened his eyes, said in a scratchy, punctual voice, "What do you want, boy?" "I'm trying to catch a nap." "Pyotr, my name's Martin. I'm going to join the army. I want to know how to fight and kill just like you." The old man turned to look at him. "Well, boy, here's step one. Don't." The army isn't for anyone like you. Go back home. What do you mean? You were a soldier, a hero! People say you killed 100 enemy soldiers. I'm strong enough to fight. It's not if you're strong enough, boy. If you want to be a hero, don't join the army. The only thing you become is a killer or dead. Trust me, if you want to be a hero, save people. Don't kill them. Martin walked away, more confused than ever. Was Pyotr right, or was he just an angry old man? Were all soldiers really just killers? There are no heroes in war. Well, let's go ahead and enshrine some army traditions. The Third Army and its traditions have been instrumental in defeating our enemies so far. The impact the Third Army has had, not only on the government, but on the wider culture of our state at large, has been immense. Indeed, it's been these men's courage and discipline that's seen the district through its toughest times. People have taken note. We must make sure that our military traditions are respected and veterans treated with respect. Too many of our soldiers have seen their comrades die only to be disrespected by some youth on the streets. Our men will get the respect that they deserve. There we go. Ooh, hold up. Let's go ahead and get a new army group going. Let's get Ivan Bragmian. I don't know where to put him in his troops, but research slot. Let's go ahead and get some artillery barrage. And from here, I don't know. I have that Kotobe winning out here. Let's see, let's get the greater good going. Military rule in the government is necessary to save our state from corrupt and ineffective politicians. They failed to protect the nation from dangerous ideologies like Marxism and fascism in the past. We have no reason that they will do so in the future. From now on, the government will be controlled solely by the military and armed forces. Free parties willing to undermine our national security are to be banned. While these measures we've implemented may upset some citizens, it's important to remember that all we do for the greater good. Expand some state welfare programs, advance developmental subsidies, poverty relief programs, and scientific research. Why not do that? Yeah, okay. Encourage political thought, get some extra political power. You know what? Why not? Our deficit's growing, which is a bit of a shame, but economics is just those are all just numbers. They don't matter too much. We'll put you on the Kazakh border. Why not? Let's get the Sentinels Russia going. The Marshal, his council, and the army are the only things keeping our state from the chaos that rages around us. They've secured us, and under their guidance, have seen our nation claim victory in even most dire of times. Now we must do the same for the rest of Russia. Our people lie broken and scattered across the Russian waste. If we are ever to unify and become whole again, it will have to be under our rule. We are the Sentinels of Russia, those who will safeguard and protect it, keeping watch for all those who would do it harm. There we go. Yeah. All right. Let's improve worker training too. Give it extra research bonus. It's a good one to go for, typically. I appreciate that one a lot. As for construction, we don't have much going to factories. The meeting table lay empty as the generals and council sat quiet, waiting for the marshal. A few minutes passed, and Marshal Batov entered the room, sitting down at the head of the table. This will be a much different meeting. Instead of worrying about our present issues, I would like to look into the future. Our political situation has changed since we first unified West Siberia. Remnants of our enemy governments in Tyumen and Omsk have been dealt with, and we have stabilized our control over all of the Urals. Things seem to have calmed down all across the military district, and our rule seems to be secured. So if our political goals handled, what should we focus on next? General Alexei Zadov spoke first. We need to prepare for war. Our neighboring rivals will not wait for us to be ready before they strike. Army size must be increased, our military production doubled, and our supply infrastructure prepared for any invasion. A lot of fighting will be necessary to reunite Russia. It's time we start now. Thank you, Alexei. It is true we must put a large amount of our focus towards reuniting Russia. Although we cannot ignore the situation of our people, all our efforts cannot be put in the military. Our civilian economy must be made prosperous, and poverty must be lowered before Russia can be unified. Until then, we must wait until our moment to strike. We will be prepared for when the time is right. So, united Russia nears. Let's go ahead, exert influence. And I'm very curious how this is going to go. Because, you know, yeah, the opposition is putting in no influence, which makes me think that we're just going to eat those guys. The pragmatists gone ahead and reunified Kazakhstan. A little boring, but it's not the worst, I suppose. Let's go ahead and sail to Scandinavia. Scandinavia is a region intrinsically linked with Russia. Not only have we shared a border with the region for centuries, but our impact on each other's politics and culture have been immense. Today, although Russia lies in ruins, Scandinavia has sailed on through the 40s and 50s, mostly intact, barring Norway's conquest. Both Finland and Sweden managed to break into both the American and German markets and benefited greatly. If we can establish trade relations with Scandinavia, we too might be able to reap the rewards of their unique situation. Well, there we go. Yeah, our enemy is doing jack diddly squat right now, which I think bodes pretty well for us. We might just be able to just sneak right in and spear them up. So we got some of that going. Let's get some better engineers going while we're here. Scale to Scandinavia. We got convoys up in Vorkuta. Very interesting combo we got going, but I'll take it. And we'll get working on some convoys while we're here. There's always a tank stuff we could do. Let's go ahead and rebuild the district. Let's start working on some of this. The district has suffered major damage in recent years. Heavy fighting has resulted in mass destruction of infrastructure and industry, and has killed thousands. It's time to begin investing in the rebuilding of our country. Raw materials and resources will be put to rebuilding factories and laying down new roads. Financial aid will be offered to people whose livelihoods have been destroyed, and camps set up for the various displaced peoples in our country. Hopefully within a few months we should have the majority of our industry operational again, and the people resettled. Ural League we're doing very well in right now. And the enemy, they could be doing better. They could definitely be doing better. I'm not gonna lie. But, you know, they've still got time, I suppose, so who knows what might end up happening. Stone Construction 3 is up and running not once again, but it's running, which is nice. Let's get early industrial robotics. That'll be good. Let's go ahead. Increase relations. Our unification of West Siberia was costly. Factories, roads, and railways were all heavily damaged or destroyed in the fighting. With our enemies dealt with and our internal issues handled, we can finally make preparations to rebuild. The damage was not sparing, with cities destroyed and people starving. Our economy is in shambles, barely functioning, and unemployment abound. Bartering is rampant, with no real money circulating through the country. To prepare for the rebuilding of the district, Pavel Batov has ordered for the new construction jobs to begin all across western Siberia. Rebuilding the core of our cities will help us increase our reconstruction efforts even more. Hopefully by the end, West Siberia will look radically different and we will be closer to recovery. Our GDP is slightly increased. Okay, not bad. We can take inventory, or we can approach the Eagle, get working on the army. You know, maybe a bit of army stuff wouldn't be too bad. So let's do it. The Third Army, one of the most well-organized and equipped armies still standing in Russia, has proven its worth once again and emerged victorious from the devastating wars that racked West Siberia. That being said, the fighting exposed some serious flaws in our strategic and tactical doctrines that may prove disastrous if our future enemies learn how to exploit them. Now that a peace has been restored to this region, comprehensive re-examination and modernization of the Army's combat capabilities shall begin. It's true that we already possess a formidable force, but allow our rivals to catch up would be to invite disaster. Once the military strengths have been honed to a razor's edge, the Third Army will march on as the greatest armed force in all of Russia, and victory would be practically guaranteed. Increase relations with Orenburg soon. Let's do it. Woo! So they're all receptive with us, which is good. That is good to see. Standing on the balcony in Sverdlovsk, overseeing the vast parade below him, Pavel Batov felt great regret that his commander, mentor, and friend Konstantin Rokozovsky could not be beside him to see the procession. Soldiers of the former Third Army, the army that Rokozovsky had led through the darkest of days and provided that springboard by which to achieve the control of western Siberia that had now possessed, were superb. The discipline and order that allowed them to stabilize the original district and defend it against both revisionist and ultranationalist elements remained, but Batov knew there was still improvement to be had. In regimented formations that marched past him, and the perfectly arranged mechanical formations that drove past, and the experienced aerial elements that roared overhead, there were, despite outward appearances, outdated tactics, insufficient recruit training, and problems with the centralization of command. All issues that needed to be and would be addressed, Batov would see to it. As another group of infantry passed by in front of his position, and in perfect echelon and with salutes offered, Batov strengthened and returned the gesture. He wished again that the old marshal was here beside him. He would honor his friend, but he would honor his friend in the way he knew would be most valued, turning his military into the most professional, capable, and politically reliable force in all of Russia. And when that army marched from the Pacific to the German border, he would know his work was complete. Our task has only begun, after all. Let's see, increase relation with the spear. And then after that, we add to the spear, our spear, I believe. And then let's take inventory first. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of pieces of equipment and weapons left over from the former warlord states that we conquered. While most of it is shyly made, outdated, or in poor condition, most still works. Much of these rifles and other equipment is simply floating out there, unchecked and free to be used by any surgeons who want it. We should locate, catalog, and store all the leftover equipment we can find and add to our own stockpiles, both for safekeeping and emergencies. The situation may never call for these weapons to be used, but it's always better to have and not need than to need and not have. Now that works for me. Preemptive strikes, that'll be good. We'll train one more of these guys each, and then we'll ease off on the training. 12 divisions in army group, not too bad. Taking inventory, let's go ahead and what do we want to do? This would be good for the poverty change, but we'll have to do war economy. We're just going to screw our civilian construction costs, so I want to ease off a little bit. Let's increase reconstruction efforts for now. Reconstruction of our territories has taken longer than expected. The fighting of recent wars, combined with the already critical lack of infrastructure into and through rural areas, has made the process infinitely more slow. Over half our expenditures have so far been exclusively towards repairing roads and other infrastructure. We've made little progress actually addressing the people's needs as a result of this. Our reconstruction efforts must be redoubled with increased funding and manpower if we are to make a difference. That works for me. We can go ahead. Increase relations with Orenburg. Quartermaster walked through the warehouse, going through all the confiscated equipment captured by enemy soldiers in the unification. Guns, artillery, and even tanks were now in his hands. They would be very useful in the Third Army, he mused. Now he moved on to the more damaged items. A tank, damaged by an anti-tank gun, but still repairable. A truck. Now this one had taken a lot of damage. Bullet holes covered the outside, seemingly more bullets than trucks. Checking the inside, stains of blood remained on the seats, forming red splashes. Perhaps this one would need a bit more work, he thought. The fighting had been brutal. He'd seen it with his own eyes. But now that it was over, he was left over to pick up the pieces. The thousands of pieces, recovering what could be recovered, trashing what could not. But with these old weapons of war, new wars would be fought. Hopefully fewer bloodstains on the weapons. They were hard to remove, after all. The more guns, the better. We need 100 influence to move these guys into the spear. Fair enough. Oh, what? Okay, let's, chill out there. I did not mean to do that. That's more what I meant to do. Let's go ahead. We can do the defense industry. Get down to the civilian industry. That's actually not a bad idea. Let's do it. Civilian industry is, of course, important. Civilian industry is important for a peacetime economy, and that will be necessary for rebuilding Russia. That said, there won't be a nation rebuilt if you can't arm your army. Russia still faces various threats on all sides. An investment in our defense industry would ensure that our military remains powerful enough to combat these threats. With nations such as Germany and Japan at our border, not only do we need the best equipment, we also need as much equipment as possible. Certainly makes sense to me. We'll end up spearing the Ural League soon enough. Same with Orenburg. Sochan turn. Gone ahead and formed their little thing, it seems. Yeah. Go ahead, get that guy added. Add the Ural League to the spear. And then 50, we'll go ahead and integrate them. Next with civilian, the agriculture societal development is very, very nice. It makes me wonder, how are we doing with that anyway? Because if we're about to go up with it we're about to improve it anyway, so I kind of want to save off on that until we end up improving, just so afterwards we can really go after it. My voice is cracking loud, I'm not quite sure why. So let's go get working towards centralized command. So we'll start with an end-to-date tactics. The past few armies not relied on tactics that would not have looked out of place on battlefields of the Second World War 20 years ago. These ways have proven inadequate so far, as was demonstrated during the conflict that saw West Siberia united under our government. But the years are marching onwards. The times are changing faster than one would think. Countless new weapons and methods of waging war have become commonplace over the decades we've spent resting on our laurels. If we do not act soon, our armies will be left in the dust, rendered nothing more than vintage relics. The time has come to set aside the tactics of yesterday and embrace those of tomorrow. Working on more artillery. Might want to get researching better tanks, honestly. Engineer companies. And then we could get working on logistics would be good, I think. So let's get working on logistics. Warrenburg. I wonder why we're getting... yeah, centralized command, and then a couple of these would be good, actually. Centralized command. Our military is blessed with the finest officer corps Russia has to offer, but with our current command structure, their talents are needlessly restrained. To better utilize their great abilities, our high command has proposed a broad centralization of the command chain to cut down on needless red tape and allow for orders to be carried down with less hassle. With increased control over their forces, our generals can more effectively guide the military's gradual transition into a highly professional fighting force worthy of carrying out the eventual reunification of Russia. That works for me. Poverty rate is really getting out of gutter now. Very nice. We're almost about to get past our agriculture. So let's go ahead and integrate the Ural League. We're getting close to adding Orenburg to our spear. Which is, again, very nice. Trade sides with Italy. Who's surprised there? I'm not. I certainly am not. Let's get some better resources going. Any decisions other than to add Orenburg to Spear? Not many coming up soon. Centralized command. They brought new officers. That's interesting. Kind of want to get working down to this. Oh, how's our academic base? We could go ahead and work on our academic base. So let's get the best and the brightest going. The past 1,000 years of history taught us anything. It's that the better technology almost always wins. Whether it be Ottoman cannons besieging Constantinople, British riflemen colonizing Africa, or a single German bomber ending World War II in one fell swoop, we've seen time and time again the advantage that better technology gives us over our enemies. Arguably, what's even more important is the effect technology can have on one's own nation as well. The Industrial Revolution boosted the economic output of Great Britain 100 times over, made agricultural goods easily transportable, and raised our millions out of poverty. We must seek out the best and the brightest in our nation and give them all the resources they need to bring Russia into the future. There's our army professionalism. Ooh, that is going up very nicely. They weren't kidding when they said rapid. Just equipment will be going up soon. Same with agriculture. 9 a month, that is great! So we'll get, what, political interference? Or does that skip to professional army? Ooh, very nice. We also get Ural Guard training, which is fucking even better. Than what we had already. So let's go ahead. We'll add these guys. And then we will change your templates to the normal. We'll change all of these to the 20 widths. Let's see if we missed any other. Just this guy who just ended up joining up. Any more? We missed this guy as well. So let's go ahead and turn him into the normal division. And I'm going to do that just to save all the spam here. Because, God. The AI is really good with creating crap templates. And I don't want to deal with those. Organic units, very nice. More artillery. Looks like we need it after all. Excellent. We can add these guys to our spear, and we can get working on unifying some of these guys. And by the look of things, man, we might just go ahead. We'll put these guys on the board of Orenburg first, just in case we try anything sneaky. Those anarchists those tricky little anarchists. I was about to say something a bit meaner, but I figured we're trying to be nice with them after all. So let's, you know, be nice with them. Let's show them our worth. Why not? Or, yeah. Our nation may be small, but we have a lot to offer. Nations willing to trade with us. While our industrial capacity is limited, our capital reserve is small, we happen to have one of the greatest abundance of cheap natural resources on the continent, primarily oil extracted from far north in Siberia. We should make work to get these raw materials into foreign markets at cheap prices, encouraging their purchase and driving further investment into Russia. If we are to be successful, managing to find purchasers abroad for our natural wealth, we may even be able to parlay our most basic trade relationships to a more comprehensive economic agreement. That would work. That would be nice. And look at that. We're about to have 2 full armies of guys. Pretty impressive armies, I do gotta say. These are solid armies right here. Are they getting any closer to... No. Actually, they're starting to attack through. We'll see what ends up happening. It seems mostly... Trying to think. The borders seem more or less the same. I'm not noticing any fancier little movements, so I might be missing a few things, but right now it looks more or less the same. We could invest in machinery. I think we just gotta improve our equipment, so that would be good, actually. Let's go ahead and invest in machinery. Since the collapse following the West Russian War, ability to research newer and more efficient manufacturing machinery and technologies has been non-existent. However, for unification of Russia complete, we can finally begin focusing on modernizing the nation's industrial technology. Such things as basic integration of computers, more reliable and tactile machinery using large-scale production plants, and the implementation of isostatic processing vessels should help increase our productive capacity. There we go. From here, all we need to do is integrate them. For this bread, we thank thee. Thank you, game. Integrate them. And we might have a few too many for a whole army, so we might need to get another army group going. Which would certainly be interesting. That ended up being the case. Let's see. I think one of these was supposed to give us liquid reserves, but I'm guessing that did something. And we got that taken away somehow. We've invested in machinery, now let's get working on civilian industry. Civilian industry is vital to the strength of our nation. An economy focused entirely on military production cannot function. Civilian industry provides for all the quality of life needs our people might have, be it toasters, plows, light bulbs, or shovels. Most importantly for the government, the civilian industry helps grow the economy and provides materials to build more factories such as steel, concrete, and glass. If we are to rebuild Russia, we need to invest into civilian industry so that we can produce said materials to do so. There we go. Speaking of military factories, not civilian, but military. Still good. Certainly good. Okay, the Aryan Brotherhood is actually starting to push back a little bit. Orenburg resists. Well, that's cute. So what does that do? They oppose us now, huh? Well, if that's what you guys want to do, then we'll play that game. But let's... What? Can we not do front lines on those guys? I guess we can't. Well, drop the orders, boys. It's time to crush this rebellion while it stands. It's incredible to me that the Nazi larpers are hanging on this long. I'm more impressed than I am. Well, I'm more confused than anything. Then concerned, and then impressed. Let's approach the Eagle. The United States of America is one of the foremost powers on the face of the earth, rivaling both Japan and Germany in terms of influence and military strength. Given Russia's precarious situation between the latter two powers, being on both their borders, sharing two of the largest land borders with both superpowers in any nation on the planet, follows that the U.S. would have a vested interest in our continued security and prosperity. Therefore, we should endeavor to re-endear ourselves to Washington, for if no other reason than to open the door to the possible future agreements. There we go. Well, Orenburg, it was nice to pretend that you were important and not just something to crush in our way. But I'm afraid it's time for our little adventure together to end. We'll do some of those. And we'll get air support going. Create a story never told. How quaint. Well, we got, what was it? Bureau Guard training. Which is insane. Ooh. Let's see, the Americans have recognized us. That is very nice. Approach the Eagle. Now let's establish a consulate. So I think this is where we're going to get some of our events. Because I know Batov and Yeltsin both have their own unique events. I hope that we get to see them. Because Yeltsin's is fucking hilarious. And Batov's, I believe, is pretty introspective and somber. So that would be nice. So let's go ahead and establish consulate. Our initial meeting with the United States went well. They seemed receptive enough to our delegation. We even managed to fit some of our preliminary talks on what form of their support of our nation might take if they were to aid us. Given a reasonable success our ventures had, we should request that we be allowed to establish a consulate in Washington. The consulate could act as a venue through which we might negotiate economic and military pacts with the government of the United States and even establish some less than official contacts in North America. Sounds perfectly reasonable to me. How much longer do we have? Another 31 days, and then we're just going to go ahead and march into Orenburg. Now, Orenburg's easy to take out. Never attacked from this side of the Urals, but that doesn't matter too much now, does it? Proud of how everything's coming along. Poverty's probably the biggest concern, but I mean, army professionalism, look at that. That's just insane. Industrial expertise, we're about to get done. Industrial equipment, we have a decent pace going. We have good news. The Americans said yes to establishing consulate. This brings our two nations even closer together and it gives us even more options for diplomacy in the future. Beautiful. Time to move into Washington. And now I'm hoping that we'll get those events soon. Are they American-only events? They might be American-only events, which if that's the case, then that's kind of sad. Let's get Dragunov's connections going. Though we might harbor some personal objections against Yevgeny Dragunov and his many past dealings with our enemies, there's no denying the utility of his impressive array of foreign contacts and connections, many of which he's retained since Sverdlovsk fell. We should call on Dragunov and see if he can come to a mutually beneficial agreement. We'll drop any and all charges against him from his time as an arms dealer in Sverdlovsk, and he will help breach into new markets and set up trade agreements through his various foreign contacts. Win-win situation. That works. It's nice to be playing HoI 4 again. I've been playing a lot of the, The U.S. Army base has been hustled with activity. Soldiers prepared for their military exercise. Roman Sidorov was excited to see the Army in action after coming to America as a military attaché. One of the many bases surrounding Washington, D.C., this one was special as it was one of the only that had monthly base-wide military exercises. "You must be Sergeant Roman Sidorov," said a man with a large green cap, walking towards Roman with his hand outstretched. "I'm Colonel Grayson Garnes, commander of the base. I'm glad you could visit." "It's good to meet you, Colonel." Roman paused for a moment. He knew basic English, but he was no fluent speaker. "I was very interested in viewing your training exercise today. Would you care if I watched?" "Of course you can watch. It's your job, isn't it?" "Follow me. There's an excellent viewing platform a few yards away. I'm sure you will enjoy seeing today's exercise." That accent evolved to a southern one, so we're just going to go with that. Roman climbed the platform with the commander, and a few minutes later the action began. The base had been divided into two teams, red and blue. The army was practicing tank actions and mobility warfare. Roman watched the American tanks speed across the field and dodge obstacles while still firing shells constantly. They seemed invincible, he thought. You had to get these tactics back to Sverdlovsk. Tank warfare would be necessary in Russia. "You enjoying it, Roman? These tanks nearly developed just off production lines. They'll be the first things those Germans or Japanese see in a fight with the U.S. Army. We definitely don't have anything like it back in Russia. The tactics themselves are new to us. I'm sure my commander back home will be most pleased with what I've learned in America." "Well, that's good to hear. Just don't let those notes drop into German hands on your way home, alright? We will surely benefit from these tactics." That's not the event I was thinking of, but that's a nice one, nonetheless. Expand state welfare programs. I think we'll do that. Developmental subsidies. Do that. We don't need army professionalism. Well, anymore quite yet. And there we go. So I know in theory these guys can declare war on us. I think since they're busy. I mean, I wouldn't if I were them. It would probably just be boring and stupid of them. And then it is the HoI 4 AI, so I don't know if you can, what else you can expect from them. Yeah, I might have to lead their troops again. Trade's always been a challenge for us since the beginning of unification. No easy ports to reach. Our neighbors willing to trade means a lot of effort had to be put into reaching simple trade deals that aren't always beneficial towards us. Costs have continued to rise for many important goods in both our civilian and military economies. We're importing much of what we are exporting. Some of our ministers have come up with a solution to this problem. Ever since our conquest of warlord Sverdlovsk, Yevgeny Dragunov has sat in our prisons. While he may have made mistakes in the past, pardoning him in exchange for his connections could be very useful. It's not like he can sell weapons to our enemies anymore. However, many of his contacts have been lost or scattered, so unfortunately we won't have access to every one of them. Still, using Dragunov can be very useful, and these days we'll take whatever we can get. If there's a man who betrayed our country in the past, so be it. He's still of some use. Let's get the Sverdlovsk tank factory going, because I'm interested in these tank brigade templates. Sverdlovsk tank factory is one of the largest tank factories still in operation in Russia, rivaled only by the Krasnoye Somrovo factory to the west. Unfortunately, the factory suffered much damage from dreaded Luftwaffe and their cruel bombing raids. A large portion of its damage has gone without repair. The sorry state of the factory currently exists and is severely crippling its output, and sometimes something must be done if we wish to build a sizable tank force for that army. Not only will the factory be repaired, but ambitious plans have been drawn up to expand the factory well beyond its original capabilities. Should these plans be put into motion, these factories will find new life, and our military will finally be bolstered with a fearsome tank fleet with which to brush aside the enemies of Russia. There we go. So we might as well decrease our relationship with Orenburg. Or our opponents. So much for all of that. Well, we got one peacefully and another one not so peacefully. It is what it is there. That's the luck of a draw, guys. Ooh, who took power here? The Decembrists. Interesting. Who have they gone ahead and done? They have disorganized everything, really. There's Speer. Speer, where are you? We will have to find that out in the next video, won't we? Because I have to cut it here. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. If you like this video, leave a like. If not, feel free to dislike. Want to see more of the content in the future? Hit the sub button. More uploads every weekday as well as every Saturday. If you have any comments, feedback, concern, any sort, leave them in the comment section below. I read all comments. Again, appreciate any feedback you might have for me. If you want to chat, play games, anything of the sort, I have a Discord. If you want to send a few bucks, I have a Patreon. If you want to see me do a sort of live, I have a Twitch. I'll put your description box below. That's it for now, ladies and gentlemen. My name has been DB333. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.